I'm Lily. Today I'm going to read your story, The Gift of the Magi. Reading it level 3B. The Gift of the Magi. Okay, let's read it. $1.87. That was all, and 60 cents of it was in pennies. Pennies saved 1 and 2 at a time by haggling at the market to get the cheapest prices possible. The thought of what the merchants might think of her sometimes made her face burn with shame. 3 times Stella counted it, $1.87, and the next day would be Christmas. There was clearly nothing to do but flop down on the shabby little couch and cried, which Stella did. While the mistress of the home was gradually subsiding from the stage to the second, take a look at home. A furnished flat at $8 per week. Indeed, it was furnished, but the furniture that came with it was old and in a very poor state. In the entrance below was a letter box into which no letter would go, and an electric button which did not work. Nearby was a card bearing the name Mr. James Dillingham Young. The Dillingham had been philanthropist during a former period of prosperity when its owner was being paid $30 per week, but now the income was only $20, and they were thinking seriously of contracting to a most and unassuming D. But whenever Mr. James Dillingham Young came home and reached him flat above, he was called Jim. He was gratefully hugged by Mrs. James Dillingham Young, already introduced you to you as Stella. Stella finished her cry and powdered her cheeks. She stood by the window and looked out dully at a gray cat walking in the backyard. Tomorrow would be Christmas Day, and she had only $1.80 with which to buy Jim a present. She had been saving every penny she could for months. $20 a week doesn't go far. Expenses had been greater than she had calculated. They always were. Only $1.87 to buy a present for her Jim. Many a happy hour she had spent planning for something nice for him, something fine and rare, something just a little bit near to being worthy of the honor of being owned by Jim. There was a mirror between the windows of the room. A very thin and a very agile person may, by observing his reflection in a rapid sequence of long strips, obtain a fairly accurate conception of his looks. Stella, being slender, had mastered the art. Suddenly she veered from the window and stood before the mirror. Her eyes were shining brilliantly, but her face had lost its color within 20 seconds. Rapidly she pulled down her hair and now let it fall to its full length. Now there were 2 positions of the James Dillingham Youngs that they were both proud of. One was Jim's gold watch that had been his father's and his grandfather's. The other was Stella's hair. Had the Queen of Sheba lived in the same building, Stella would have let her hang out of the window someday just to see her jealous. Had King Solomon been the janitor with all his treasures piled up in the basement, Jim would have pulled out his watch every time he passed, just to make him envious. So now Stella's beautiful hair fell about her, rippling and shining like a cascade of brown waters. It reached below her knee and made itself almost a garment for her. And then she did it again nervously and quickly. Once she flirted for a minute and stood still while a tear or 2 splashed on the worn carpet. On went her brown jacket, on went the brown hat, with a whir of skirts and with the brilliant sparkle still in her eyes. She fluttered out of the door and down the stairs to the street, Where she stopped, the sign read, Madame Salverini, haircuts of all kinds. One flight up, Della ran and collected herself, painting Madame large too. White heartily looked the Salverini. Will you buy my hair? Asked Della. I buy hair, said Madame. Take your hat off and let's have a look at it. Down rippled the beautiful cascade. $20, said Madame, lifting her hair with a practiced hand. Wow, so long hair. Give it to me quick, said Della. The next 2 hours flew by as Della searched the stores for Jim's present. She found it at last. It surely had been made for Jim and no one else. There was no other like it in any stores, and she had turned all of them inside out. It was a platinum white chain, a watch chain, simple in design. Its value was measured by the material alone, as is the case with all good things. It was even worth it by the watch. As soon as she saw it, she knew that it must be Jim's. It was like him. Okay. Quietness and value. The description applied to both. $21 they took from her for it, and she hurried home with the 87 cents. With the chain on his watch, Jim might be probably anxious about the time in any company. Grand as the new watch, she knew he was bothered by the old leather strap that he used in place of a chain. When Della reached home, she excitement gave way a little to hear Annie listen and reason. She got off her calling iron and went to work trying to make her short hair as beautiful as possible. Within 40 minutes, her hair was covered with tiny, close-aligned curls that made her look wonderfully like a schoolboy. She looked at her reflection in the mirror carefully, and critically. I hope Jim doesn't kill me, she said to herself. Before he takes a second look at me, he will say, I look like a dancer in a musical. But what could I do? Oh, what could I do with $1.87? At 7 o'clock, the coffee was made, and the frying pan was hot and all ready to cook the meat. Jim was never late. Della doubled the watch chain in her hand and sat in the corner of the table near the door that he always entered. Then she heard a step on the stairs away down on the first flight and turned white for just a moment. She had a habit of saying silent prayer about the simplest everyday things. And now she whispered, Please God, make him think I'm still pretty. The door opened and Jim stepped in and closed it. He looked thin and very serious. Poor fellow, he was only 22, and to be burdened with a family. He needed a new overcoat and he was without gloves. Jim stood inside the door and there he froze. His eyes were fixed upon Della. There was an expression in them that she could not read, and it terrified her. It was not anger, but not surprise, nor disapproval, nor horror, nor any of the emotions that she had been prepared for. He simply stared at her with that peculiar expression on his face. Della wiggled off the table and went to him. Jim, darling, she cried, don't look at me that way. I had my hair cut off and sewed because I couldn't have lived through Christmas without giving you a present. It will grow out again. You won't mind, will you? I just had to do it. My hair grows awfully fast. Say Merry Christmas, Jim, and let's be happy. You don't know what a wonderful, nice gift I got for you. You've cut off your hair? Asked Jim as he could not believe this way. He Della before him. Cut it off and store it, said Della. Don't you like me just as well? Anyhow, I'm me without my hair untied. Jim looked about the room curiously. You say your hair is gone? He said, with an air almost of stupidity. You needn't look for them. You needn't look for it, said Della. It's sword, I tell you, sword and gun, too. It's Christmas Eve, darling. Be good to me, for it went for you. Maybe the hairs on my head were numbered, but nobody could even count my love for you. Shall I put the meat on, Jim? Jim quickly Jim quickly returned to his normal self. He put his arms around his Della for 10 seconds. Let us regard with discreet scrutiny some insign, some insign, some insignificant, some insignificant object in the other direction. $8 a week or $1 million a year. What is the difference? A mathematician or a wit would give you the wrong answer. The Magi brought valuable gifts, but that was not among them. This dark assertion will be illuminated later on. Jim drew a package from this overcoat pocket and threw it upon the table. Don't make any mistake, Dal, he said. Don't about me. There's nothing you could do to your hair that makes me like you any less. But if you will unwrap the package, you may see why you had me going a while at first. My fingers quickly tore at the spring and the paper, and then an executive scream of joy, and then, alas, a quick mime change to hysterical tears and wails, necessitating the immediate employment of all the comforting powers of the Lord of the Flat, for there lay the combs that Della had worshipped long in a Broadway window, beautiful combs, pure tortoise shell, with jeweled rims, just the shade to wear it, the beautiful hair she no longer had. The express comes, she knew, and her heart was simply craved and yawned over them without the least hope of possession, and now they were hers. But the hair that they should have made even more beautiful was gone. But she held them close to her heart. At last she was able to look up with dim eyes and a smile and said, "My hair grows so fast, Jim." And then Jim looked up like a little stinged cat and cried, "Oh, oh!" Jim had not seen his beautiful present. She had it out to him artfully upon her open palm. The dull precious metal seemed to flash like a reflection of her bright and elder spirit. "Didn't it a dandy, Jim? I hunted all over the town to find it. You will have to look at it time 100 times a day now. Give me your watch. I want to see how it looks on it." Instead of a boy, Jim toppled down on the couch and put his hands under the back of his head and smiled. "Dell," said he, "let's put our Christmas presents away and keep them a while. They're too nice to use just at present. I sort of watched to get the money to buy your combs, and now suppose you put the meat on." The Magi, as you know, were wise men, wonderfully wise men, who brought presents to the babe in the manger. They embodied the art of giving Christmas presents. Being wise, their gifts were no doubt wise ones, possibly bearing the privilege of exchange in case of duplication. And here I have told the story of two foolish children who gave up their greatest treasures for each other. But in a last word to the wise of these days, let it be said that of all who gave gifts at Christmas, these two were the wisest. Or who giving gifts in the way they did are the wisest. They are the Magi. Bye!